I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1969.
I was born in 1967 in Naha, Japan.
Palo Alto High School in Palo Alto, California.
Yeah. I went to Newberry Park High, and before that I went to Gunderson High.
Easier. We had no cell phones. Nobody could find us. We could get lost for days at a time, and it was just fine. There wasn't a big kidnapping of kids back then, so it was commonplace for the kids to take off and run wild, and that's what we did.
Life was a lot easier. Didn't have a lot of entanglements using the phone. When we were out, and we couldn't be reached by our parents. We could do whatever we wanted to, run around.
I grew up in San Jose, California, most of my life, and in the 80s, my parents had gotten a divorce, so I went between San Francisco with my dad and San Jose with my mom. And both those cities were just starting to have a technological boom. The founder of Microsoft is a little older than I am, but he lived in San Jose, and he only lived a few miles from me. I did not know who they were, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who they were at the time, but in the 80s they were in a garage creating the first computers. The first Apple computers, actually. And there were so many tech companies, and since I was living in Silicon Valley, I was surrounded by these little tech companies that were starting to boom. And California was an exciting place to be at that time.
It was kind of a blur. I was in high school, and I went to college at night. And any free time I had, I was out with my friends. We'd go down to Hollywood and just go up and down the streets, having a great time. But the rest of the time was done in homework. So.
For heaven's sake. Well, we didn't have computers then. We had video games, but it was mostly Atari. Nothing like they have now. But now I could find you anywhere. All I have to do is a click of my phone. I know exactly where you are. I know exactly what you're doing. I can find anybody in the world. I can go onto Google Maps and walk around the streets of Paris from my living room. I could do none of that as a kid. Everything's very technologically advanced now. Even our cars. I had a manual stick-shift car with the windows that rolled down, and now my car will pretty much, do my taxes and my dishes for me if I asked it to. And so the world's changing quickly.
Things are a lot more connected. I think there's a lot more fear now of everything that's going on. We're scared of a lot more things because we see it on the news, and we're a little bit more aware of things going on. Not to say that it didn't happen when we were kids, but we were oblivious to the fact. There's a lot of dangers out there in the world. There always has been, but we didn't know about them, so not knowing about it was bliss.
The day you were born was an amazing, memorable moment of my life.
Thanks, Mom.
We had just had a child die the year before, and you were so tiny, and I was going to give my soul just to have you live, and you did live, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thanks, Mom.
The day I married your dad was an amazing day for me. 20 years later, we're still married. The day your brother was born, Andy, those are lots of memorable moments in my life.
Most memorable would be the move to California from Nebraska. I didn't want to move out west. My parents did, and I really didn't have a choice. I was 12. And when I got there, I was surprised at how different everything was, how warm the weather was, and how, just the different attitudes of people.
Now we'll talk about the Loma Prieta. The Loma Prieta earthquake was in October of '89. And I was in Palo Alto, and I had just gotten off of work, and a lot of people don't drive cars in California because it's, we're all pretty conscious of the environment, and this was a very bicycle-friendly town. So I was going to ride my bike home. And as soon as I got on my bike, I noticed that it was very, very quiet. Unusually quiet, and the air was kind of orange. And I thought, it's strange out here. I've never had it this quiet. Not an airplane, not a dog barking, not a bird, nothing. I thought that was strange. And then my back tire started to shake, and I thought, somebody slashed my back tire. I was so mad. And so I got off my bike and realized that we were having an earthquake. And I watched buildings, windows shatter, and things collapsing all around me. And you were shaking so violently you couldn't focus on anything around you. It's like someone grabbed you and was literally shaking you. And it felt like it lasted forever. But we lost power. I rode my bike home as fast as I could just to make sure my house was still standing.
We grew up in fear of the Russians, and we thought nuclear war was going to happen at any time. And when 9/11 hit, there was a definite fear that it was all starting to go downhill. I mean, this was after the Berlin Wall went down, and we thought everything was going to be all happy and glad. And then the trade centers were demolished. And we thought at the time that we were going to head right into a nuclear war.
I know this is going to sound corny, but my goodness, it is so true. If I could change one thing in the past, I would go back to when I was your age in high school. And I would have buckled down. I would have been fierce. I would have sucked up any bit of knowledge that I could. I would have taken any college classes that I could. And the second I was out of high school, even that summer, I would have enrolled in college right away and got it done. Because now I'm 46 years old, and I only have an associate's degree. It doesn't pay very well, and it's much harder when you're older to go to school. You have children, or you're married, or you have a mortgage and car payments. It takes a lot out of you. But when I was young and free and I had nothing but time, I wish I would have gotten a master's degree then.
I probably wouldn't have done a lot of the alcohol and drugs and sex that I did. I would definitely have been a little bit more chaste.